There is a thief in the house, not for your furniture, not for your car, not for anything that can be replaced by insurance or rebuilt over time or recovered from a store. He has walked past every valuable thing you think you own, and he is looking for something smaller, something you carry inside you, something that if he takes it, makes it impossible for you to know what else he has taken. He is not after your money, he is not after your health, he is not after your relationships, your career, or your reputation, at least not primarily. He is after your mind. And the reason this truth has not landed with full weight until today is that the very thing he is stealing is the very thing you use to recognize that something has been stolen. This is the strategy. This is the design. This is what the Bible has been saying about this thief for 2,000 years. And today we are going to go into the exact Greek words that name what he takes, how he takes it, and what God has already stationed at the gate to stop him. John chapter 10, verse 10. The thief comes not but to steal and to kill and to destroy. The word Jesus uses for thief is kleptes. Kleptes. You recognize something in that word, kleptomaniac, a person who steals compulsively, secretly, without the awareness of the person they are stealing from. A kleptes is not a robber. There is a different Greek word for a robber, lestes, someone who steals openly, with violence, with force. You know a lestes has been there. You feel it. You see it. You cannot miss it. But a kleptes is different. A kleptes steals in such a way that you do not know it has happened. He does not announce himself. He does not leave obvious marks. He takes what he takes and leaves the room looking the same as it did when he arrived, except that something is gone, and you will not know it is gone until you go looking for it. That is the word Jesus uses for the enemy, not the robber who is obvious, the thief who is not. And what does this kleptes come for? Not the things in the room, not your physical possessions. He comes for something inside you, and Paul names exactly what it is. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers, so that they cannot see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ. Two words in that sentence that change everything. The first is blinded. The Greek word is tuphloō. And here is where the Greek opens up something the English translation cannot fully carry. Tuphloō comes from a root word that means to burn, to smoke, to fill a space with smoke so that vision becomes impossible. It does not describe eyes that are simply closed. It describes eyes that are open, but surrounded by smoke so thick that no light can penetrate. The enemy does not primarily work by closing your eyes. He fills the atmosphere around them with smoke. You are looking. You are trying to see, but what is in front of you has been obscured by something you did not put there. You cannot tell what is real and what is shadow. You cannot tell what is close and what is far. Everything is unclear, not because your eyes stopped working, but because the smoke is in the way. That is tuphloō. And what does he fill with smoke? The second word, noēma. Your English Bible says minds. The Greek word is noēma, the thoughts, the purposes, the mental processes, the faculty through which you understand and process reality. Not the eyes, the organ behind the eyes. Not what you see, what you do with what you see. The kleptes comes for the noēma, and here is the thing that should make everything stop. The noēma is the very faculty you use to notice that something has been stolen. When your noēma is full of smoke, when the tuphloō has done its work, you cannot tell what has gone missing because the thing that helps you recognize loss is the thing that has been lost. The thief has stolen the alarm system first, and this is why there are people who are missing things they should have. Peace they should be walking in, clarity they should be operating with, truth they should be building on, and they cannot tell it is gone. Not because they are not looking, because the smoke is too thick to see through. But this strategy is not new. Go to Genesis chapter 3. The serpent comes into the garden and notice, he does not attack the body. He does not threaten violence. He does not steal food. He does not break anything or damage anything physically from the garden. He speaks, and the first words out of his mouth is a question. Did God really say, that is it? That is the first recorded attack on a human being. Not a weapon, not a threat, a question. Aimed directly at the noēma. Aimed at the place where Eve knew what God had said. The place where she held the instruction. The place where the truth of the word lived. He did not steal the fruit. He stole the certainty. He created smoke around the one thing that, if it remained clear, would have made the fruit irrelevant. Because if Eve had stayed anchored in what she knew God had said, no argument, no appearance, no suggestion about wisdom and pleasure would have moved her. So he went for the noma first. One question, and the clarity began to blur. One suggestion, and what she knew started to feel uncertain. One layer of smoke, and the vision that had been clear became unclear, and the kleptes walked straight into what should have been protected. Because here is what God had already told Adam before the serpent ever arrived. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to keep it. To keep it. The Hebrew word is shamar. Shamar is a word for a watchman, for a guard, for someone posted at a position with a specific assignment of preventing unauthorized entry. Shepherds use thorn branches to shamer their flocks at night to create a barrier of protection around the sheep while they were vulnerable. City watchmen stood on the wall to shamar the city, looking for threats before the threats arrived at the gate. Adam was placed in the garden as its shamar, its guardian, its watchman, and the instruction was not casual. It was his first assignment before anything else, before any other work was named. Keep this garden, guard this space. You are the watchman here. He did not shammer it, and the serpent walked in. Now go to Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Same instruction, but now addressed to every person who reads it. Keep your heart. The Hebrew word for keep here is natsar. Natsar means to guard, preserve, watch over, protect. It is the word used for a security duty, for someone whose entire assignment is to prevent unauthorized access to something of extreme value. Men only post guards where the value of what is kept justifies the cost of posting them. There are no armed guards at a city dump, but there are armed guards at the treasury. There are sentinels at the vault. And the word for diligence, mishmar, is not the word you think it is. In English, diligence sounds like effort, hard work, consistency, but mishmar is not primarily a word about effort. Mishmar means a guard post, a place of confinement, a prison, a secure location where something that must not get in or out. Keep your heart with mishmar. Guard your heart from a prison guard post, the kind of watching that does not take breaks, the kind that does not get distracted, the kind that has been assigned to this specific gate and will not leave it. Because what comes out of the heart, everything that flows from you into the world, comes from the leb. The leb is not just the emotional center. In Hebrew, the leb is the entire inner person, the intellect, the will, the desires, the moral discernment. Everything that makes you who you are flows from the leb. And everything that flows from the leb is only as clean as what went into it. The kleptes comes after the noema. Solomon says natsar the leb, guard the inner person from a mishmar post without rest, without distraction, because the battle is not outside you. It is in the territory inside you. Stop right here. The word for thief in John chapter 10 verse 10 is kleptes, a thief who steals secretly so you do not know what is gone. The word for blinded in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 4 is tuphloō, to fill with smoke so the eyes cannot see. And the thing being filled with smoke is the noema, the very faculty you use to recognize what has been stolen. Has anyone ever connected these words for you this way? Drop a comment. And if this kind of word study, going into the original languages to find exactly what is being said, is what you have been hungry for, subscribe right now. This is what we do every week. Let us finish this, because the garrison God has sent to this territory is still coming. But God does not leave the territory unguarded. Philippians chapter 4 verse 7. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Shall keep. The Greek word is phroureō, and this word is not peace in the way you have imagined peace. Not a quiet feeling, not a pleasant emotion, not the absence of noise. Phroureō is a military word. Specifically, it means to post a garrison, to station armed soldiers at the gates of a city, to mount a sentinel whose assignment is to decide what enters and what is refused entry. It was the word Roman soldiers used when they described guard duty at the city gate. Who comes in, who stays out, what is permitted, what is turned back at the wall. The peace of God shall phroureō your hearts and minds. Now here is what you need to understand about who Paul was writing to. He wrote this letter to a church in a city called Philippi, and Philippi was not an ordinary city. It was a Roman military colony built as a garrison at a strategic mountain pass, elevated to a full Roman colony after a major military victory. The city was full of soldiers, active soldiers, retired soldiers, people who had mounted garrison duty themselves. People who knew exactly what phroureō looked like in practice. When Paul wrote phroureō to the Philippians, he did not need to explain the word. They felt it instantly. They saw soldiers. They saw the gate. They saw armed sentinels, deciding who enters and who was turned back. And Paul said, that is what the peace of God does inside you. Not a passive calm, an active defense. Not peace that waits to see how things go. Peace that is already at the gate, already on duty, already stationed at the boundary between what is inside you and what is trying to get in. The kleptes comes with smoke. The phroureō is already at the gate. Notice the words Paul puts together in Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. He says, the peace of God will phroureō your cardia and your nomata, your heart and your minds. Cardia, the center of the person, the leb that Proverbs says to Natsar, the place from which all the issues of life flow. Noemata, the thoughts, the mental faculty. The noema, that's the peace of God, is stationed at both. The kleptes targets the noma. The phroureō is posted at the noema. The enemy comes with tuphloō for the mind. God sends peace to garrison the mind. The territory is the same. The battle is over the same ground. And the armed garrison of divine peace does not wait for the enemy to get close before it responds. It is already at the gate, already deciding, already on duty before the attack begins. Now, look at the sequence Paul gives in verses 6 and 7 before the phroureō arrives in verse 7. He says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. 3 elements. Prayer, the broad posture of communing with God. Supplication, the specific urgent asking of what you need. And thanksgiving, gratitude offered before the answer arrives. And then the phroureō follows. The garrison shows up after the prayer and thanksgiving, not as a reward, as a result. The peace that posts the soldiers at the gate is released by the posture of trusting prayer. It is not earned, but it is activated. Which means the phroureō is available, stationed, ready, waiting to take its post at the gate of your heart and mind. And the key that opens the gate for the garrison is not more anxiety, not more analysis, not more trying to figure out what the smoke is hiding. Prayer, supplication, thanksgiving, and the peace that passes all understanding, meaning peace that does not require your mind to resolve the situation first, walks through the gate and takes its position. The same gate the kleptes has been entering through, now guarded. Here is what this means for you today. The battle you have been fighting is not primarily in your circumstances. Your circumstances are downstream of what is happening in your noema. The territory the enemy has been occupying is not in your bank account, your body, or your relationships first. He has been operating in the place where you think about your bank account, your body, your relationships. He has been in the mind, and the symptom is the smoke, the confusion that does not lift, the fog around truths you used to be certain of, the doubt that arrives wrapped in reasonable-sounding questions, the loss of clarity about what you know God said, when the certainty you had starts to feel uncertain, when what was clear becomes unclear, when the alarm system that is supposed to tell you something is wrong has stopped going off because the alarm system itself has been tuphloō. This is where the battle has been happening, and this is where God sends the phroureō, not to a problem that is somewhere out there in your circumstances, to the territory inside you, to the cardia and the pneumata, the hearts and the mind, the same places the enemy has targeted, the same places Proverbs told you to Natsar, the same places the gospel is trying to reach and the enemy is trying to prevent it from reaching with his smoke. The peace of God takes its post there, at the gate, between what is outside and what must stay protected inside. And here's the connection that ties everything together. When God stopped Paul on the road to Damascus, he gave him one assignment, Acts chapter 26, verse 18, to open their eyes, to turn them from darkness to light and from the power of Satan to God. One sentence, but look at what it contains. Open their eyes, because the enemy has tuphloō them, filled the noema with smoke, made open eyes unable to see. Turn them from darkness to light, because the kleptes has been operating in the dark. He is a secret thief. He works where visibility is low, from the power of Satan to God, because the same gate he has been entering through is the gate that the phroureō of God is now posted at. Paul spent the rest of his life doing exactly what God told him to do on that road. And when he wrote Philippians chapter 4 verse 7, the phroureō verse, he was not describing something separate from his assignment. He was describing how the assignment works from the inside. The same light that turns people from darkness on the outside is the garrison of peace that stands at the gate of the noema on the inside, opening the eyes, clearing the smoke, turning the territory from the power of Satan back to the power of God. One assignment, one mission, two sides of the same gate. The serpent asked one question, and the garden was lost, because the one who was assigned to shamar the garden was not at the post. But the last Adam, the one who went into the wilderness and was tempted the same way with words and questions and suggestions about what God had really said, stood at the post. And every time the kleptes came with smoke, the right word was already there. It is written. It is written. It is written. The noema filled not with smoke, but with what had already been settled, what God had already said, what the phroureō of truth was already holding at the gate. He did not lose the territory, and neither do you when the peace of God is posted where it is supposed to be posted. Your heart is worth guarding, not because it is perfect, not because it has never been compromised, because out of it flow the issues of life, because everything that makes you who you are, every decision, every desire, every direction you take flows from the leb. And the enemy knows this. He has known this since the garden. He has not changed his strategy because he has not needed to. The target has always been the noema, but the garrison has also always been available. The phroureō of the peace of God has been waiting to take its post at the gate of the heart, you were told to Natsar, at the gate of the mind the kleptes has been entering through. Armed, active, not passive, not asleep, not waiting to be called, standing guard ready, commissioned by the peace that passes all understanding, the peace that does not need the smoke to clear before it takes its post, the peace that walks straight into the fog and stands at the gate anyway. The kleptes is a thief who works in secret, but your God posts a garrison in the open, at the gate of your heart, at the gate of your mind, in the exact territory the enemy thought he owned. Natsar your leb, guard your heart. Not alone. With the phroureō of the peace of God stationed where it was always meant to stand. The garrison is already commissioned. Take your post.